Hey folks, welcome to today's Extraordinary Connection. My name is Brian Steele and I have the privilege of being the pastor at Grace UMC here in New Baltimore. Excited to see and be a part of this team now and see how God's going to continue to work through myself and my colleagues. Today, in my first introduction to you all, I'd like to look at one of the most popular scriptures that we hear this time of year. It's Isaiah 9:2. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in a pitch dark land, light has dawned. Beautiful words of hope. You probably, if you're one of us weird church type of people, we hear them at least once a year. But this year, I've realized something different about those words. I'm not focusing on the light this time around. I'm focusing on the darkness. That's where my interest has led this year in 2020. The people this verse is referring to are currently in darkness. In fact, they're living. In other words, they are dwelling, inhabiting, currently making a home in darkness. And in our society, we tend to think of darkness as a bad thing. But for the next couple of minutes, I'd like to challenge this idea of darkness being an inherently negative thing for us. Because right now, darkness is pretty plentiful. It's all around us. Seems like we've been stuck in this season of darkness for far longer than any of us anticipated. Wear your mask, friends. Wear the mask. But even with that said, I'm not totally convinced that the darkness itself is the problem. Rather, it's how we approach the darkness. If you'd even allow me to kind of state our relationship with the darkness. When we avoid darkness, whether it's in the world, something external of us, our situation, or we're trying to avoid the darkness within us, or the darkness in our relationships, we're essentially telling God, I don't think you can do anything in me or through me because of that darkness. And I think we need to rethink that. Instead of shunning the darkness that we may currently be in, perhaps we can be bold enough to ask God, what are you doing in me during this time? Now, truthfully, I'm going to be a little vulnerable and honest and state that the darkness for me has been pretty intense lately. And I don't really want to go there with God. I don't want to ask God what God's trying to do in this time. But maybe the darkness itself, for me and for you, aren't really the problem. Maybe it's our fear of darkness, our struggle to grieve what we've really lost, experiencing sadness, of not really diving into those or just trying to keep them away from us, those emotions that we're taught good and faithful people aren't supposed to feel. Our avoidance of all of that, perhaps that's the problem. Instead, maybe we should befriend the darkness that is around us and inside of us, whatever that may be for any of us. Treating this darkness as a temporary friend, a temporary companion who is just journeying along with us for a season. Somebody who is teaching us a truth that we may need to hear in our lives and about our world that we wouldn't have learned otherwise. Friends, I know the light isn't here yet. All these candles, they haven't been lit yet. It means the light of Christ has not yet arrived. That's happened. And here I am to tell you, even in this year, even in 2020. That's okay. It's okay if the light isn't burning as bright this year. It's okay if the light doesn't even burn as bright when Christmas does arrive. Because God is still at work in us and through us. The darkness is an invitation to release grief, release stress, release our disappointments that are plentiful right now, and allow them to do the work God needs to do so that we can more experience the light when it does come. Darkness is an invitation where we can be bare before God without shame. So that when the light comes, and it will come, it will awaken us to the beauty around us once again. Amen.